think now I go like, some little shit like that, just because like I'm in my mind, I'm like, well, I can't just hang out on that stupid note for that long, so I have to make a little thing.
Hey, this video is brought to you by Sweetwatermusic.com. So when I was building this office, brand new office here, I needed a whole bunch of stuff, a new desk, new studio monitors, audio stuff, video stuff. I found everything at Sweetwatermusic.com. In addition to music gear, they also stock Rode audio equipment and Blackmagic cameras. And it's just like everything that I need is all in just one website. So if you take a look at the link in the description, you'll find the list of gear that I use from Sweetwatermusic.com. Go check it out. It supports the channel. Thank you so much. Also, this entire video has been transcribed by SheetHappensPublishing.com. If you want to learn really cool music by Cannibal Corpse, Black Dahlia Murder, my band Archspire is on there. Check out the link in the description, SheetHappensPublishing.com. Use my code word DEAN for 15% off at checkout. On to the video.
And when I was really young and just starting to play guitar, I took lessons from a guy, Chris Cooper. He's still around. He's an amazing guitar player, but he forced me to learn the instrument, which is at that time I was a teenager. I just wanted to learn like Weezer songs and like Dinosaur Jr. songs and stuff. But
yeah,
he like kind of forced me to be like, okay, well, if you're going to learn this song, you're going to learn like what's going on in the song. Like, why is he using this chord? How does it apply to like the rest of the, he made me kind of learn some rudimentary like theory and stuff like that. So he kind of set me on a path where I was able to become a little bit more, I guess after I took lessons from him for a couple of years, I became more of a self-taught player. Like I used that kind of that sort of like the foundational elements that he kind of forced me into, and I just built from that myself. So I kind of am regretful of that. I never really sought out like more one-on-one kind of lessons with like legit musicians or anything like that. I just never did. I kind of wish I'd had, but I would say mostly, man, I'm like kind of like 90% just kind of I've learned it on the go. You know what I mean? But again, I did have that one teacher when I was really young that kind of forced me to maybe be better than I even wanted to be. You know what I mean? Like he kind of was like, well, if your parents are spending money on these lessons, I'm gonna like teach you what's going on this instrument. You know what I mean?
That's
I guess that's really it. I'm thankful for that.
Yeah. I guess I had something kind of similar. Like when I was younger, I took lessons from this dude who was like this like hippie stoner Christian dude, which was kind of an I didn't really I think I was too young to really understand. Oh, he was stoned all the time. Like, I get it now. Like, but he had all these rad guitars. Like he had this Charvel with like this reverse headstock, like a Charvel Telecaster, and like this lipstick pickup in the bridge, and like it was like blue, and I fucking loved this fucking guitar. And he had like a desert yellow gem, like 6-string fucking with the vinyl. Oh my god, dude! He was very influential. But what he would do is he would like every Saturday I'd go take lessons, and he would bring me in for playing guitar for a half hour. And then the next half hour, he'd be like, okay, you stay and you play bass. And then he would bring in another student, and I would play bass and jam with the other student. He would go to drums. And then for the next half hour, I would play bass, and he would switch me around and put me in the, like I played my first show with him when I was like 13 or 12 years old.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah,
that's
but
so cool.
It taught me how to play with a band. And I feel like it's like a really rare experience to actually get that when you're that age, and really at all, until like I started actually jamming with guys that I really respected and stuff, and it started to grow with them musically. I wouldn't have gotten that experience otherwise. And when you learn to play in a band dynamic, like a natural kind of thing, and you learn like, yo, this dude could be super good at guitar, but he could be a total dipshit and like not understand, like his, he's putting out weird vibes, and you're like, oh damn, like I gotta learn how to like interpersonally like deal with this person. Like it just taught me how to really understand that a little bit. It's like probably the most important things that I ever learned on guitar were just jamming with a band, because that's that's what we do. It's like
for sure. I think that's something that maybe in this day, not to disparage like younger guitar players, but I think there's so many like shredders out there now, right? Like you see them on Instagram, you see them on YouTube, and it's like, and they're unbelievable players. I mean, they're doing stuff that I can't even really wrap my head around, but part of me is kind of like, I wonder if this guy can like be in a band, you know what I mean? And I think like what you just described, I didn't have an experience like that, but for me, it was like my whole my whole goal was to be in a band. So everything that I was doing was kind of in the context and in the framework of like trying to be a guitar player in a band. And not just like not just a solo guitar player or somebody that could like burn through scales or whatever. I just wanted to be in a band, write music with other guys, collaborate and have that sort of chemistry that growing up, like all my favorite musicians, like they were all bands, you know what I mean? So like, that's just what I wanted to be. I just wanted to be a piece of the puzzle. You know what I mean?
Are you thinking, or who are you talking about? You talking about like Van Halen? You talking about like those kinds of bands, or like who are you talking about when you're younger?
Well, mostly 90, like I was kind of a child of the 90s. That's when I got into music, when I was, early 90s, so the Seattle stuff, Pearl Jam, Nirvana, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, and then of course like bands of that era as well, like Smashing Pumpkins, Stone Temple Pilots, like the grunge stuff, like that's what got me into guitar and got me into music in a way that where I wanted to play music, you know what I mean? But prior to that, before I even like ever picked up a guitar, Van Halen, like classic rock stuff, Skinner, Allman Brothers, the stuff my brother listened to, when when he first got his license or whatever, and I was in his Camaro, like jamming to 99.7 to Fox in Charlotte, North Carolina, whatever they were playing, I was like, oh, this is cool, man. But then like, I guess when I sort of started coming into my own and having my own like opinions and stuff like that, that 90s grunge stuff like is what resonated with me first. And then from there, it's like, I don't know, man, like the years just kind of whizzed by, but like before you knew it, I was getting into, heavier music of that era. I was getting into like Helmet, and then of course like Korn and Deftones and stuff like that when that came around. And then before I knew it, it was like, oh, kind of like Cannibal Corpse now. You know what I mean? I don't know how that happened, but before I knew it, I was just into more extreme metal. It was a pretty fast like journey to that, but I still love all that stuff. Like I still like, man, like to me, like I can put on Siamese Dream by Smashing Pumpkins. It's like my favorite record ever. And it takes me back to a time where I was like fell in love with the guitar as like a sound. You know what I mean? So that stuff is still big, probably the biggest part of my kind of musical DNA. Really,
bro, I like sometimes I'll forget that I love, sometimes you like, because you listen to so many bands and sometimes you're like, oh yeah, I used to listen to this band every single day. Like you bring up Korn, it's like, bro, I throw on some Korn, I'm like, fuck yes, there's some killer tracks. But I like today, I like put on headphones, I was like cleaning up my office here, and I was like, I'm gonna throw on Images and Words, Dream Theater, and I'm like, bro, front to back, that album is so good. And I can't tell if it's just nostalgia, just like, bro, I listened to that album so many times, but like just front to back, I think that's their debut album, isn't it?
I think it was technically like their second one, right?
Okay.
Before that, but that was the big one,
That was the
Pull
big
Me
one.
Under and stuff. And, that was my first exposure to them.
Oh
Headbangers
my
Ball.
God.
I remember watching the fucking Pull Me Under video, and I was like, dude, this guy's shredding. Dude. Like, what is this, I think it is a little bit of like that. It's time and place, right? Like it's like, where were you in your life when a certain record came out? Like, and if it hits at that time, like it's gonna stay with you the rest of your life. You know what I mean? It's like, Dream Theater is a great example. Like everything Dream Theater does is good. You know what I mean? But it's like Images and Words it just hits different because I don't know, man. It just reminds you of a time in your life where you were super impressionable and you were curious and you were like, and when you heard it that first time, you're like, whoa, you're just like blown away, and it still has a little bit of that quality to it. So, there's a few records I think in my lifetime that are like that, and I think of it in the context of our band, like, and you probably experience this too. It's like sometimes people, it's like that whole thing, like people just want to hear the old shit, you know what I mean? Like, and it's kind of annoying, but at the same time, it's like, man, for us, like Colors is that record where it's like, that will always probably be the record that our fans gravitate towards most. And it's it's just at the time, time and place, man. It was like 2007. It was like a kind of a proggy, heavy record that resonated a lot with people. And even though I think everything we've done since then is like objectively better, it's not as beloved, you know what I mean, as Colors. So I think that's a kind of a universal thing, and I get it. I totally get it, because I'm the same way with bands that I love. You know what I mean? It's like I'm always going to love And Justice for All, you know what I mean? More than anything Metallica will ever do or has done since, And,
well, okay, so you bring up like old versus new stuff. Like I was watching some videos this morning of you playing the solo from Selkies. Which, honestly, Alaska is the Between the Buried and Me album for me. That's the one.
Okay, yeah.
Dude, a lot like... it's aggressive. It's got all the proggy stuff, but it's not like, because I think Colors you stepped even more into that, and I Colors is a sick album, but Alaska hit Brave because of 2005, right?
Yeah, 2005,
yeah. I just graduated high school, so it's like right that time where I'm playing tons of guitar, and I'm like, I get my first car pretty soon, and like driving around putting certain albums in the album in the CD player and shit. That was kind of the album for me. But you play the solo from Selkies in like this recording studio. I guess it's the studio from like you actually
that's Jamie King's old basement at his parents' house.
Okay.
There was like fucking chainsaws and all kinds of gardening tools hanging on the walls.
Creepy.
You're trying to record music.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, it's not a furnished, but like that thing was a basement, dude. That thing was like a fucking a hole in the ground kind of place. You know what I mean? But yeah, we recorded our first. I guess Alaska. I guess Colors was the first record we did at his new basement. But yeah, Alaska, we definitely recorded down there.
Did it keep the same creepy vibe with the old basement versus the new basement? Or are you talking?
No. He kind of stepped it up a little bit, and it's like more. It feels like you're kind of in a place that's not going to give you like mesothelioma or whatever.
Mesothelioma. I don't think I've ever heard it. What is that?
You don't have those commercials in Canada. Maybe Canada's not as litigious of a society, but
okay, hold on.
It's like a cancer that you get from inhaling asbestos fibers.
You can't throw litigious and mesothelioma in this. I can't even say it. Mesothelioma.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
It's a deadly. I mean, it kills you. You know what I'm saying? But
sure.
if you breathe in asbestos fibers, you can get it. And I imagine there was some asbestos in the old basement.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm learning a lot.
Yeah, you just learned about a new disease that you could get a part of a class action lawsuit or whatever for.
Great. Yeah. Cool.
Anybody that's American that's listening to this, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. They see the commercials, man.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not a laughing matter.
Big time class. No, it's not a laughing matter, but I mean.
I'm laughing, but yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, his old basement was like I said, man, it was like a bomb shelter style, like it was a basement. We did. But I know the video you're talking about. Recorded. I think we might have like, I don't know if we kept that take, but like that was we were probably recording an actual like take. You know what I mean, of that solo.
Well, I was listening to it and I'm like, this sounds like the take. Because I've listened to that solo a million times. It sounds like the take to me.
Yeah.
But the reason why I bring it up is because you can watch, so like in 2020, you guys did some live stream stuff and you played like as a full band. Like the differences between you playing that solo then and then in 2020, like, 15 whatever years later, it's like they sound really fucking different. Like the way that you're playing it, like just the feel, raking into certain notes. You're getting more in it. You're sitting more in the pocket. You have like, I would say more personality. I would say like it's not, it wouldn't be ridiculous to say that you probably got a lot better at guitar between the recording of that album and now, or 2020 anyway.
Oh yeah, for sure. And definitely like way more expressive on the guitar. At that time, way back then, I mean, I was just like, I don't know how to describe it, but I was going for a particular, like, I think I was just trying to play the parts right, and not necessarily like, I wasn't doing any kind of like vibrato or like everything was just very vanilla, what I mean? And it is. It's because like I was just kind of playing over my head, really. You know what I mean? I was like just kind of a hack that was just really learning how to do that kind of shit.
Yeah.
And so I was just faking the funk a little bit. You know what I mean? But
right.
And that kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, like sweep picking and stuff like that. Like I never really like learned how to do that formally from like a teacher or anything. I was just like, I think I was listening to like Perpetual Burn by Jason Becker or something. I was like, what the fuck is he doing? You know, and I just kind of figured it out. But I think when you figure it out like that and you're just kind of, you know, fumbling your way through it, like it takes a while to get comfortable with it. You know what I mean? And I think that's probably the big difference now is I can play a solo like that and feel comfortable enough in that kind of world of like balancing like the technicality with a little bit more of expressive playing. So that's what I guess 20 years will do. will do for you eventually.
Well, I mean, it kind of.
But I totally get what you're saying, and I listen to my old records and stuff, even Colors, and I'm like, I'm playing so like timidly, you know what I mean? I'm just trying to hit the fucking note right, you know, and it's like I need to be more, rake into it, you know, shake it a little bit, you know, do something, you know, and I think I didn't really get comfortable doing that maybe until maybe a little bit, Great Misdirect maybe, just harnessing a little bit more of expressiveness, I guess, with the instrument.
Well, it definitely has more personality. Like when I'm listening to it, I wonder how you take like a solo that you wrote 15 something years ago at that time, 2004, whatever, 2005 to 2020. How do you keep it? Are you like bored as fuck playing it? Like, I mean, or are you adding stuff all the time? Are you like, changing it up to mess with yourself or are you just like getting through the motions and just doing whatever, like mentally?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably like a couple little things that have changed like over the years with us, specifically that solo. Nothing crazy, because at the end of the day, I feel like, you know, it's kind of a time capsule, right? Like I don't really play like that anymore, but it's like that is what it is. So let me just play it how it is, and people will hopefully dig it. But there's little embellishments that I think I've added over the years. I'd have to listen to the original and see, but I think there's like, I'm trying to even think of what I think that's what it does on the album, and I think now I go like, you know, some little kind of shit like that, just because like I'm in my mind, I'm like, well, I can't just hang out on that stupid note for that long, you know, so I have to make a little thing, just stuff like that, you know. But the sweeps I still play the sweeps pretty much exactly how they were, because and I remember at the time when I wrote that sweep passage, I was like so fucking proud of it, because I was like, oh man, I'm doing these like, you know, sort of like I'm playing different arpeggios over the chord, so it's going like a. So it's really just like a C9, you know, C add 9 to a C major, really, and then an A minor to an A add 9, and real simple chords. But like I was like, oh, I'm gonna play like a C major arpeggio, but then I play like an E minor arpeggio over the C major chord.
Right.
So I'm like, so it's almost like you're getting the major 7 in there, because you get the B in there from the 5th of the E minor. So you get which is, you know, the major 7 of the C chord. So I was like so proud of myself, because I was like, dude, I'm leaving out the root of that one sweep. So it's like, but it still works, you know what I mean? So sometimes when I'm playing it live, I like think about how stupid I was. I'm like, I thought I was doing some kind of cutting edge shit, but I'm like, it turns out that's probably a super normal thing. I'm sure jazz guitarists are like, yeah, we do that. I'll be
honest with you. When I'm listening to you play this, like I had a bit of a surreal moment there, because that album was so important to me when I was younger. And we set up this call, and I was so excited to talk to you, and it's really cool. And then when you start playing the riff, I'm like, oh my God, I'm talking to the guy that wrote the riff that I listened to it so many times. I listened to that song so many times, and I just had a bit of like a, not out of body, but a little bit of a weird experience. It was really, thank you
That's
for that.
so cool, man.
Very cool.
Dude,
Very
it's
cool.
funny. Like, that's super humbling. And also, man, like that reminds me of, we toured with, right before the pandemic, 2019, we toured with Chon. We did it was like a co-headlining tour with Chon, but they were the headliner. Like, they played after us, and like the crowd was there for Chon. Right. And I don't know what happened to him since then. I'd love, if somebody knows what happened to Chon, like, I'd love to know, because they were riding high, dude. Like, people loved them. Yeah. But those guitar players are unbelievable. Like, amazing. Dude, clean channel, just shredding, dude. Not missing us. There's not a biff to be heard. Like, it is just clean as hell, like crazy stuff. Eric and Mario, and they're like super shredders. And I remember Mario, one time he was like, dude, the sweeps to Alaska, the intro in Alaska, he was like, that was the first sweeps I ever learned. And I could have cried. I was just like, what? I was, because this is a kid. I mean, I call him a kid. He's so much younger than me. He was like, dude, to me, he's just like this fantastic guitar player. And I'm like, to like be a part of like to think of him as being a young kid that had never really learned how to do that technique. And my dumb ass was the guy that he learned how to like do his first. So I think anytime somebody tells me something like that, especially when they're at the level you're at as a player and as a musician, like, it's super humbling, and just it makes me, on one hand, it kind of makes me feel old, but on the other, it's like it's just like a super cool feeling to know that you're kind of part of someone else's journey. Yeah. Wow, this is really great. What a great video. No, it's really cool. Yeah, that album has so much cool shit on it, man. I'm so stoked about it. I got to go back and listen to it. I haven't listened to it for a couple years now. But next year's the 20-year, man. Oh, 20-year anniversary. Oh, so I think we got hopefully got some stuff cooking up that we'll maybe do in celebration, I guess, of that record. Sick. There's definitely some stuff on there that I don't even think I can play anymore. I mean, I'd have to really dig in and relearn it. Yeah, well, I'm sure you consult the tabs. Before I move on to the next thing, there's one part of that solo, the first melody that you played. There's like a vibrato that you do a little bit. It's like a slow vibrato, there's something just real quick that you played, and I noticed in the new version, the 2020 version versus the recorded version, you're sitting in the pocket more with that vibrato. You're just like holding back, and I think that's actually what makes. You listen to Cannibal Corpse, you listen to Deicide, you listen to like head-banging, dumb, like not dumb in a bad way, dumb in like an ignorant, awesome, killer, hard to write, amazing to listen to riff kind of way. You're sitting back in the pocket, almost like even a 16th note. It's just like, and when you sit back and it just pushes the music in a certain way, those are the kinds of things I think you really only learn when you get to be the, like you were saying, the age that you are now, where you're like, I've been playing now you've probably been playing for like 30 years or something like that, right? Yeah. So like you really don't learn that stuff right away. So like you just didn't have the capability. And like it brings me back a little bit to when we recorded our album, Relentless Mutation in 2015, 2016, something like that. First time in a new studio, really nervous to do it. We recorded all of the leads in a clean tone because we were so scared to add noise. We're so scared to do anything. Yeah. So everything is very like granularly like perfect, all the note, and it came out kind of sterile, kind of whatever. Oh, 100%. Yeah, and you might listen to that original solo, and you might think, hey, there's not as much feeling as you would want now, but you really don't get that stuff until you're X amount of years into playing the instrument and really getting a handle on how to communicate an idea with the audience. And I think that is a really small, and it's something that I would notice, it's something that other guitar players of a certain kind of experience probably would notice, but the audience wouldn't notice consciously that you're doing that, but definitely subconsciously they would notice the confidence that you would get. You would sound just a little bit more confident in that part, and I think it does convey a message, but it's not a verbal one. It's very small. Yeah, super nuanced, right? Yeah, I mean, I think, and you probably, Archspire is such a technical band. It's like there's a fixation on precision and just like you said, like hyper acutely aware of that technical accuracy of everything. And I think, in that time in my life, I was like that too, like to a fault, because it's like, as you said, you're playing like leads and things that are supposed to be more emotive. And if you play them in a way that you're just trying to get everything right on the subdivisions, and it's like you're almost trying to play the solo like quantized, you know what I mean? It's like you're not letting it breathe. And that's the thing about leads. You learn as you get older, like even technical stuff, it's like it's got to breathe, you know, it's got to have some bounce to it, and some kind of, otherwise it's not conveying the emotion that you really intend, you know. It just sounds like music or elevator music, you know what I mean? It's got to have some. The other night we went and saw Opeth in Atlanta, and that's like one of my favorite things about Frederick, the guitar player, is that, like, dude, he's an insane shredder, like unbelievable shredder, but there's so much like feeling and just sass, you know, in his bends and stuff, and the way he just, even when he's like blazing, you know, it just has this quality to it that it's like, man, that's how you play lead guitar, you know what I mean? And I feel like I'm just now kind of figuring that out, you know what I mean? But yes, yeah, I think to sum it up, yeah, like I totally agree. You know, it's like now I even the clean solo in that song. You know, like when I listen to it, I'm like, dude, the fucking original version sounds so stupid. Because I'm just playing it like, you know, it's just very like, you know, and it's like now when I play it, I you know, rake into notes, and there's a little bit of pick noise and stuff like that. And to me, it's like, that's how it's supposed to sound. You know what I mean? And it's like, when I listen to like my favorite guitar players, that's the thing about them that I think maybe I never noticed when I was younger. It's like, dude, you listen to them and it's like, no, like you can hear them playing the instrument, you know, It's not just sound that's coming through the speaker. It's like a dude playing, you know.
Yeah, it's all about trying to mimic the human voice, right? So it's like the most relatable instrument that you can play is a human voice.